everybody. You're watching Merely on Time. My name is Chris. You're watching me. I'm talking to this guy. His name is James. You're watching him and me. And we're going to talk about watches. And then we're going to go a little bit beyond the watch. So, welcome, James. Thank you so much for joining me. It's good to see you, man.
Oh, it's wonderful to be a part of this. Thank you so much, Chris. I've been looking forward to it for such a long time.
I have, and just so people kind of know, we were planning to start at, so you are now, I guess, 15 hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
So it's Sunday.
Sort of early morning over here.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning, yeah.
Later at night for you guys over there.
Yeah, so you're Sunday morning right now. It's what, almost 8 o'clock your time now?
Yep, almost 8 o'clock.
Okay, so you're 13 hours ahead of me now. We rolled our clocks back. So originally our conversation was going to be at 9 a.m. James time, which would have been 7 p.m. my time, but it turns out that 7 p.m. my time is now 10. Anyway, I don't know. It's all confusing. So confusing, but it was good that you could jump on. My son and I, are you into the UFC at all? Do you watch any of the UFC?
I'm not the best Australian when it comes to sport. I tend to sort of go, yes, that's sport, go team. But that's my one.
Yeah, so we're watching. I don't even know who's fighting. My son's more into it than I am. I used to watch quite a bit of the UFC events with friends of mine. Several years ago, we would go over to his place and just kind of watch the fights. But yeah, that's where I'm heading after this. Heading back home to watch. I think it's UFC 282 tonight, maybe 281. I don't know what one it is, but anyway, yeah. So
some guys, I throw into one of these things. A bunch of the boys got together and they got the fight thing happening. And all I saw was some guy with a big stomach trying to cuddle somebody else, and I thought, "Ooh, this is not for me."
Yeah, that happens in those fights quite a bit sometimes, and it's silly. So I want to say congratulations on your channel growth. I was just checking it out earlier today. You're over 2,500 subscribers now. That is amazing, man.
Yeah, it's all from one video. I released one video about 4 weeks ago called Aliexpress Grail Watches, and it just went boom. It was really good. It's drawn in views as well as subscribers, which has been fantastic. It's been nice to see. It's been a little bit shocking as well.
So how many subscribers did you get from that video then?
From that one video, there's 330 just from that one video.
New subscribers?
So
wow.
Others as well. But yeah, just drawn in from that one video. It's had over 30,000 views, that one.
Wow, good for you.
I know.
That is
nuts. It's well beyond all my other videos.
That is amazing. Yeah, what is your average view count on your videos? Like, what would the average be?
I'm not sure the average, but I tend to get at least 1,000 views on the videos. They sort of grow, as you know.
Yeah.
My other most popular ones just hit about 10,000 views, but that's like almost a year-old video, so that took a year to get to 10,000.
Yeah.
One within a month got to 33,000. I think it's just hit. It's starting to plateau off a bit now and sort of settle more into normal sort of phases of viewing.
That's incredible. Good for you. That's amazing.
So yeah, I was wondering how people are getting these spikes in numbers, and I'm not really pushing too hard to get heaps of subscribers, but apparently just make a video that is popular. Yeah,
and the Aliexpress ones do tend to be, because I just did mine as well, just like my sale picks, and it's got over 1,000 views, which is really good for me.
Yeah.
Over a year, I don't know if I have a video that has 10,000 views on it, but there's some that are close. But there are year-old ones and ones that I would never think that would get that many views. So
yeah, I haven't been able to pick which ones are going to be popular or not. I'm starting to get a little bit of a feel for it, but I'm not doing it to be popular. I'm just doing things because I've got this information in my head that I just want to get out there.
Yeah, and it's, I'm the same way. I do have a small theory I was thinking about. It seems to me, because I remember when you were just below 1,000, and then I put something up on my Instagram. Hey, let's get James over 1,000. And then you got over 1,000, and then you just went, boom. You just started doing really well. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I kind of fluctuate. It's kind of weird. I don't kind of understand how it works, but it seems to me that if I had a better accent, maybe like the British accent or your Australian accent, I'm just a Canadian guy. I don't know. And someone actually told me that I had well, what was the comment? Because you were mentioning you would tell me the proper pronunciation of the Western region of Australia. What's the proper pronunciation of that?
Pilbara.
Pilbara?
Pilbara.
Pilbara. And
I was. It looks like Pilbara, but it's Pilbara.
Pilbara.
This watch right here.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's the. What is that one called? It's a Houtman.
It's called the Houtman Pilbara Rock, and because when you actually
Pilbara Rock, right?
Up north from where I am, it's all red dirt and red rocks, and you look at this and go, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, I had that one in for review. Watch Wit had it. He referred is it Jason? That's the owner of that one. Is his name Jason? Yeah, he referred to me. And I had that one, and it was it's a fantastic. I love the fact the branding is printed onto the crystal on that one. That's kind of a neat one. I'm wearing my
the sun to see the shadow onto the dials.
Yeah, that's neat. I got my Seiko SNZ G13 on, just a field watch. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. So, yeah, it seems that. If I had a better accent and maybe I could talk a little bit more, refined, maybe. I had a guy.
All of us viewers are sitting there with a drink in front of us, waiting for a boot.
That is such a stereotype. It's not quite like that. But I had a guy tell me so I did a Bulova video, and I called it Bulova, not Bulova.
I don't know how you pronounce that.
Well, and someone had commented. A Bulova, it's Bulova, not Bulova. Why don't we call it Hamilton? And but then and I said, well, some say tomato, whatever, right? And then someone had just not too long after you had said you'll help me pronounce Pilbara, right? Someone put a comment in that list of comments on the Bulova watch. You are a what was it? Called me an imbecile. An illiterate imbecile. So I said I resemble that remark in my reply to him. Oh man, have you ever had? Has it been mostly positive? Have you had comments like that where they? They like to take.
I've had a couple of negative comments, and I always try to see it as a positive in regards to that they're so passionate about watches that they just have to comment about their own particular views. And some of it has been rather negative, but they haven't been swearing, which has been good. It's nice not to have that sort of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But it's quite a particular view, and I just come back with an overly positive reply saying, oh, thank you so much, it's so good to see that you're so enthusiastic about something that I'm also enthusiastic about, even if it's not my view that they've expressed.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been called a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
I have been told I talk too much.
Oh yeah? And yeah, that was hilarious when I read that comment. You're an illiterate imbecile. So anyway, yeah, I'm doing it because I have fun. I'm not doing it because I'm an expert by any means. I'm certainly learning, but I'm just enjoying it. And yeah, if it stops being fun to do the videos, I just won't do them anymore. I'll still collect and whatnot. But what got you into doing the YouTube in the first place?
I'm just doing it as an excuse so I can buy more watches, because realistically I can't justify buying more if I don't do this.
And there you go. Yeah. So how long have you been doing the YouTube thing? Just over a year? Or?
Yeah, 18 months. I think I started in May 2021. Probably the same sort of time as a lot of people started with with the epidemic going on, I had a lot of free time on my hands. That was a contributing factor, but realistically, I was sort of falling down that rabbit hole of watches and watching everybody else's content, and I sort of thought, oh, I wouldn't mind doing this, and then I sort of thought, oh, this is a good way of justifying more watches.
Yeah. And did that work for?
Yeah, it really worked. I've had lots of watches.
Yeah, but as far as was it justification because you needed to justify it to your wife, or was it just for yourself?
A bit of both.
Bit of both, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of I'm very careful with how much money I spend on watches. I've got other financial commitments, as we all do. So I'm sort of figuring out how to sort of best use that money and sort of be comfortable spending a certain amount of money on them and recycle the money and buy and sell as well. Yeah.
And so now, how many watches do you currently have in your collection then? Do you know the exact amount?
If my wife is watching, I have 15. If everybody else is I think I've got over 20 at the moment, but there's a few that I'm getting close to being ready to sell. I just need to make some more content about them before I sell them. So, but I still feel like I've got too many. I'm trying to figure out how much I can reduce it by, but it's a hard one because I like them all.
And you just over 20 that's it, eh?
Yeah, yeah. It could easily be more, but I then couldn't fund the next watch, so I kind of have to sell some to keep funding the next one.
Okay, and so how do you go? Do you sell them on eBay? That's something that I'm going to start to figure out is how to, because I've got at least 50 watches.
Oh,
yeah.
All right, I feel better now. If my wife's watching, hello, Nancy. He's a lot worse than I am.
But the fact of the matter is, I haven't sold any either, right? So I'm just getting to the point where, because I've got a box of 24 watches, and those are kind of the ones that I pretty much wear. Like this one is in it. The other ones I might turn to them occasionally, but I'll always go to the box of 24. Like those will be the watches that I wear regularly, at least once a month. Like I'll rotate them, but I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll narrow it down even further and try and sell the ones that at least are not as worn, or that are in decent condition. I've got some that I probably wouldn't be able to sell because I've worn them and scratched them a bit and whatnot. So how do you sell yours? Do you use eBay?
I use eBay, I use Marketplace, and I use Gumtree. I'm not sure if you guys have got Gumtree over there. It's like a sales platform, but it's sort of like Marketplace, I guess. But there's a lot of scammers on Marketplace and on Gumtree, which is really bad. You have to be really careful. It seems to be getting worse and worse. But there's no fees attached like eBay. So when I'm selling on eBay, I just add a little bit extra to cover those fees.
Right. And do you use PayPal are you into PayPal as far as receiving payment and whatnot? And
yeah, I like PayPal. And when I'm buying, I like to use PayPal. It gives you that little bit of extra protection, which is nice and it's a bit more comforting. And when I sell, I do something because I've sort of had problems in the past with selling watches or buying watches. I'm very much lots of communication so people feel confident that they've bought something real. I take photographs of the packing. I take photographs of the posting. Just so when people are getting a watch, they're going, oh, yep, that's a real watch. Oh, it's been packed nicely. Oh, there's the packaging of the postage as well. And then they also then can't come back to me and say it never arrived and things. I can say, well, look at these photographs I've sent you. It's been packaged and sent to you.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing I kind of, I'm not leery about it, but I'm trying to figure out, I still don't know the best way for me to do it, whether it's eBay. I do have a PayPal account, but I'm fairly new into it, and so a buddy of mine just bought a watch from AJ, Average Joe Watch Reviews. I connected them because he did the one, a Tree Hut watch, wooden, like it's got some wood in it. It's actually quite nice. I was surprised. So I connected my buddy Timmy to Average Joe. So Timmy paid me. I deposited the funds into PayPal, and then I sent the funds to AJ. But it took over a week before my funds went into PayPal because I'm not well, I'm a fairly new user, so it's not like I think you can reduce the time that the funds become available over use. I don't know.
I think there's two options from what I've seen. You can pay a little bit of an extra commission and then it's instantaneous. That's how PayPal makes a little bit of extra money, I'm assuming. Or it's just normal and it's free, but then it takes a bit of time and they sort of hold your money for a few days and then give it to you. Yeah,
and for me it was 5 full business days, so that's not the most so if it's the same for someone, like if you were to buy a watch for me and you put money in PayPal, if I got to wait 5 days, I don't, do I ship it before I actually get your money? Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Wait for the money to clear.
Yeah. And so I don't know how practical it'll be for some of my watches, as far as like, people might not want to wait a week before they get a tracking information on shipping or something like that. I don't know, but that's all new to me. I haven't got into that yet, but I definitely got. But I enjoy giving watches away as well, not just selling them. So
yeah, that's not.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit more about watches. What is your favorite watch in your collection now? What's your go-to?
It depends on where you're asking the question, because if it's like what's your favorite watch sort of for like an emotional perspective, it's my Seiko Pogue, which was my dad's watch in the early 80s, which he recently gave to me, which I've had restored, and it's very cool. But if you take the emotion kind of thing away from it, that sort of personal connection, then it's likely to be my Hamilton Jazzmaster GMT Traveler 2, that really long name watch.
That's a beautiful piece, yeah.
I'm shocked how great that is. It's amazing. It's a watch that I sort of now compare other watches to in regards to value as well, because I'll wear that and I'll see somebody wearing a Rolex and I try their Rolex on. Not that I have that many options to look at Rolexes, but I keep thinking I much prefer the Hamilton.
Really? Yeah. And what is it about that particular watch that just kind of grabs you, does it for you?
The looks, the fit and finish, the everyday use of it, because it has a bit of a dressy look to it, but it also has an everyday sort of feel to it as well. It's just and having that nice Swiss movement. It's a GMT, it's a sort of desk GMT or whatever they call it now. But so it's just very well used or easy to be able to use, and just the quality. You sort of notice when you have something a little bit nicer quality on your wrist, it sort of feels a bit better. A little bit similar to this one, actually. This is now one of my favorites in my collection. I can't not wear this every day at the moment. It's just you put it on and you think, wow, that's something a little bit special.
It is a really neat one. I really like the white dial version of that watch as well. But that watch there, though, with the fact that it's made from the rock, that they crush it down and press it. It's really. Now, did you get that one? Is that a brand new one? Because I know that I had a review watch in, and then I sent it back. Did you buy that one brand new?
Yeah, so Jason actually came over to my place and sat down with his new Murchison series, but also brought the blue version of the Pilbara for me to have a look at. And it was funny because I had a quick look at the Pilbara, put it away because I wasn't overly interested. I was more interested in these new Murchison watches. But then the next day I stuck the Pilbara on wrist and went for a walk, and literally I was 300 metres down the road with my dog, and I looked down, I pulled out my phone and I bought one on his website. And then he came up to my house because each dial is slightly different, and he had like 7 left, and he said, pick which one you want. So I went through all the dials and picked the one that I liked best.
That's awesome. So you might have had the one that I sent back to him.
It was a new one. He did have another one, but which was sort of being lent out. But
yeah, that would have been the one I had. Yeah, I was really impressed with that. My favorite thing, one of my favorite things about that one is the bracelet. I love the engineer style bracelet. I only have a couple of other watches. That for a stainless steel bracelet, that's definitely, I think, my favorite kind. That or a Jubilee. But the engineer style is just fantastic. Like it, yeah. And that one's certainly really, really, really nice. Yeah, it's a great watch. Congrats on that. So how far away is Jason from you?
Probably 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minute drive.
Oh, nice.
Which was really nice. So he was nice enough to come over. He came over a couple of times. He's lent me a couple of his own watches. I think you featured the Van Banner Parking Master, I believe.
Yep.
So I've got one of them at the moment, borrowed from Jason because he bought one from the company. So that was nice to get some hands-on experience with that one too.
Oh, cool. So which color did you get?
It's green. So I've got it for a couple of weeks just to have some wrist time and make a video out of it.
So what do you think of it? It's a pretty cool watch, isn't it?
Cool. It has some very 70s vibes going on. Very angular. I love the bracelet on that too. I keep playing with the bracelet, sort of just making it move and shimmer. It's very cool. Yeah,
and it's for like an integrated style bracelet. It's not really integrated in that sense, but it's nice. I'm sure you've got the quick release on it, right? So it's easy to swap out. And yeah, it's one of my. It's in my top box, like my 24. I've got the blue dial, which is really, really, really nice. So. All right, I'm gonna ask some questions. This is still kind of about watches. Then we're gonna go beyond the watch. We're 20 minutes in. We'll talk for about an hour or so. And this is from now. Talk about. I'm gonna pronounce the name. I'll spell the name. You tell me how to pronounce it, because I'm sure. Jorge. It could be George, or maybe I don't know if it's George or
George with a J. Yeah,
George.
He does leave some comments. It's really nice to see all these comments.
Okay, so George with a J. Yeah, I didn't know if maybe he was Spanish and was like Jorge or something like that too.
Possibly. I haven't spoken to him.
So George, yeah, he has some interesting questions, and so. And he asked kind of both of us, but I'll ask these of you. And so besides social media and watch groups, forums, do you share your watch hobby with someone close to you that enjoys it at the same level?
At the same level? No, I kind of force it onto my wife a bit. And she's very, very nice and accommodating. And she actually sits down and watches all your videos with me and other people that I watch as well. And although she only has one watch herself, I've actually met some really nice people in my area, which we sort of now do occasional catch-ups and just talk watches. Some people have got some very special watches. Actually, there's some very nice watches out there that are a bit beyond my financial means at the moment. But as I think I said earlier, one of the reasons I have the channel is just to be able to get this off my chest, because I'm very aware that my family and friends only want to hear about this much worth of watch talk before they get a bit bored of it.
So any friends at work or any just other friends that are into it, or is it just more or less? I mean, at the same level, no. But are there others that?
I've got one friend at the same level, and I met him by buying a watch as well, and which was quite nice. It was the SKX 009 I bought from him, and we sort of then connected from that, which is kind of cool.
Now, is that someone that you would see often, or just someone that you met online?
Oh, just occasionally. We've met up a few times and chatted watches. I've got a couple of his watches at the moment to review as well. I've got the Baby Snowflake and
that's me. Sorry. And that's my son trying to call me here. I'm gonna just shoot him a text.
Come on, it's fight night. Where are you?
He's watching the prelims right now. Mouse mode. Click on small screen. He's wondering how to get it full screen. Sorry about that, everybody.
That's how life works.
That's weird, because I had my phone on Do Not Disturb too, so I don't know how it got through. I've got one friend who, I don't know about you, but obviously if you can help someone catch the bug, that's just as exciting as having the bug, right?
I've been doing that. I even a colleague of mine saw this, or when I say saw this, I pushed it on him, and he bought the blue version the next day, so that was kind of cool. So I'm sort of pushing out there. I'm not a salesman, but I do like this, and hey, if somebody wants to buy a nice watch, I'm happy to direct them in the right sort of direction.
Yeah, and so for me, it's my buddy Timmy. Timmy the Carpenter is his Instagram handle, and the charcuterie board that I film my watches on now, he made that for me for the channel, and so he started. He's always loved watches too, and when I started, I was kind of like, I had an Apple Watch, and that was all I wore for a while. Before that, it was always a Timex Ironman or a Timex Expedition, one or the other. And when I started collecting and when I started doing the videos, he's like, I've always loved watches too. I'm going to start buying some more. And so yeah, he'll call me and or he'll send me a text. Have you seen this one? Have you seen this one? What do you think of this one? So it's always nice. And I ran into a guy. Have you run into anybody? At the grocery store or out and about that you kind of noticed their watch or they kind of noticed yours and you just struck up a conversation in that regard, or how does that work for you?
I've definitely spoken to people about watches, but not in the grocery store kind of things. Maybe colleagues or friends of friends, or I've been to my wife's sort of Christmas do last year, or I was chatting watches to a couple of her colleagues, and there's certainly, and especially people who have the funds to have something a little bit special on wrists. When you point out, going, "Oh, that's a nice Grand Seiko or a Breitling or something," they go, "Ooh, did you know what it was?" And they often have to chat about it.
Yeah, so I was in the grocery store, and this was just a Seiko 5 Sports SRPD. It was the blue color, blue bezel blue, and I of course have the orange dial version of the same watch, and so I'm packing my groceries and I kind of look over and I see this guy's watch and I'm like, "Hey, is that a Seiko?" His eyes just went, "Oh, watch guy."
This never happens.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he said. So he showed me his watch, and I said, "Yeah, I've got the one in orange." And we talked as we packed groceries, and we walked out of the grocery store. It's like a 5-minute maybe conversation, but he's like, "This made my day. You're the first person that's ever noticed my watch, or even talked about it." So, yeah.
I did have one funny thing. Somebody was wearing a Seiko, and I thought it looked quite cool, and I quite liked the look of it. And I went, "Oh, that's a really cool Seiko." And he went, "Oh, I didn't know what brand it was." I won't talk about it anymore then.
Yeah, not quite at the same level. Okay.
I like the.
Yeah. This is a great question. Again, from George. What other hobby would you indulge in if watches were not your thing? Or what other hobbies do you indulge in now anyways?
Yeah, my favourite hobby, and I'm not sure if you'd call it a hobby, but it's travel. I love to travel, love going overseas, love planning trips, loving doing things, which, again, got knocked on the head a few years ago, which gave me more time to do this hobby. But I like making things as well. I make my own furniture. I do leather craft stuff. I'm not particularly good at it, but I enjoy doing it. I really like reading. I read a lot of fantasy novels and things. I enjoy that.
Awesome.
I like hiking. I've got too many hobbies. I remember years ago, I thought to myself, I need to cull down my hobbies and then concentrate on them, because I ended up not doing enough on each one. I was doing astronomy and I was doing this and that. It was all too much.
So did you buy how deep into astronomy did you get? Did you buy an expensive telescope, or what did you do for that?
It was sort of like an entry-level telescope, but you could sort of see Io and things with it, which is kind of going across Saturn. I did a few local courses. I actually met a friend through he was doing lectures talking about the planets and things, and he's very much into it, and that was kind of very nice to do and meet somebody that was enjoying that kind of thing. And I actually only recently threw out that telescope because I'd had it 20 years and it had been moving from house to house and it fell apart on me.
Oh, okay. I have a friend that he takes, and I don't know how he does it. He's got a telescope, obviously, of some sort, but he takes the most beautiful images of the stars, like the night sky, that I don't even know how he does it. Like, obviously he it's like for a still photograph, I don't know if it's a time lapse thing that he does or what, but he posts them on his Facebook, and it's like, holy crap, like he's got some nice equipment, because it's not the stars that I'm seeing in the sky. He's getting even further and deeper It's really amazing. That's cool. And that clock that's behind you there, you also restored that. I remember watching yeah, there you go. That was your, was that your father's? I can't remember.
I think she bought it in the 40s or 50s, somewhere around there. And it was always sitting on my dad's shop. I never got to meet my grandmother. She passed away before I was born. And it was always something, it was always a present thing in my life. And again, I asked my dad not that long ago, do you mind if I have that? I thought he might say no because it was his mother's clock, but he was more than happy to give it to me. So I'm very happy to have it done. And just, putting it back together, it was starting to fall apart. The movement inside of it was, it was covered in spider webs and things, and ended up being a little bit too expensive to get fully restored at this point, but I cleaned it up the best that I could, and I think it looks a lot better than it. Yeah, there it is. A lot better than it did when I had it shipped to me. Yeah,
and it's that was a pretty neat video that you did of that process, and then the one that you made your own leather band. Yeah, you are pretty. What do you call it? A crafty guy? I don't know what the term would be, but you enjoy working with your hands, obviously.
Literate imbecile, I think, is what we're trying
to say. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Let's see here. This is an interesting question. Talking about value watches, what is the brand that has surprised you the most on Aliexpress? I just watched your Tanduria, and I probably pronounced that wrong, the pilot watch. But yeah, what's the one that surprised you the most?
I call it Tanduria, but I have no idea. Again, you just read this and you just make up your own words,
don't you? So what's the watch that surprised you the most value-wise?
That's the Roland Pilot turbine one. Did you see the video I made about that one? It's got a larger pilot watch with the turbine.
Yeah.
That is shockingly good. I am so impressed by that, to the point where I just need to buy more from that brand to see if they're just as good, or if maybe it's just this particular one. It's one of my favorite watches in my collection. I absolutely adore it. It's stunning, and it's so much better than what the value is or how much it costs. It feels like a $1,000 watch, but it was $200 something.
And what was the name brand of that again?
Well, I screwed up the pronunciation of that one. Somebody pointed it out to me, but it's pronounced Roland, but it's spelt with a H, H-R-O-U-L or something or other like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's impressive. I love wearing it. When I got that one, I literally couldn't take it off my wrist for like 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah.
It's this one that's sort of slightly taken over from it.
Yeah, you did post quite a few pictures of it on Instagram as well, and it's quite a cool. Now, that's not a that's just something that they added as a feature, or did they modify the movement to do that turbine thing? Or
all second hands, and they've just turned into a turbine. It's a homage of a late thousands IWC, where they made this limited edition 12-piece run, and each watch was handcrafted, almost like a prototype, and they were pre-sold out, and you can't even find out how much they sold them for. They're going to be that expensive, I would have assumed. What they don't have, however, this Roadrun, when you turned over, the IWC had this really interesting sort of, you look on the jet engine in the front of that jet engine with that sort of aluminium or sort of insert where the turbine is. On the back of the movement of the IWC, they've got that around the mainspring or something, which looks cool, which this one doesn't have.
Yeah.
But, it's incredible. I keep finding these watches that are just so much better than what the price sort of dictates.
Yeah. And so what other ones from that that store are you looking at? I'm
desperately looking at this bronze. It's a homage to the BB58, I think, but it's just too expensive. They want $400 for 500 Australian with the PT 5000, or $700 or $800 with an SW200. But it just look. I keep looking at it and thinking, maybe I should.
Yeah, well, you might end up getting enough with your affiliate links or whatever to to snag one of those, that's kind of the new and exciting part of my journey on the YouTube is now, got some affiliate links, and I'm actually my whole goal leading up to, getting close to 1,000 subscribers or whatever. I thought, well, if the hobby of doing the YouTube channel can actually fund the hobby of collecting watches a little bit, then gravy, so I actually just...
That's another one of my goals is, if it can fund itself, I'll be very, very happy. And it pretty much does at the moment, to be honest, but most of that money, the bulk of that money comes from recycling watches, as in selling to then fund the next one. But there is a few other little bits of money coming in, not a lot. I think you need to have a few thousand or a few tens of thousands of subscribers before you start earning any sort of real money.
Yeah, well, and it is definitely based on your views. So if you can pop out a couple more videos that somehow get 30,000 views on them, because it's not, it's based on, from my understanding of all this stuff, it's based on your views, not necessarily on your subscriber base. Obviously, your views will get higher as your subscriber base gets higher, but if you can get a couple of videos that go viral like that or whatever, and then get you more subscribers and more views, like that's incredible.
I had a bit of a look into it to try and figure it out, because it's very hard to figure out, but because it's not just the views, it's your content. Certain content creates more money than others, like financial content. People that are doing financial videos, that's worth more money than like gamer videos. People who do gaming videos, their per view is really, really low. So and I don't know where we sit on that sort of graph of what's worth what.
Yeah, I've kind of found over, I don't know, my typical view account, it's hard to say, like on average lately it's been about 10% of my subscriber base. And watches that I figure would get a lot more views hardly get any in comparison to other videos. It's like,
it's hard to tell.
Yeah. So
I think you're exactly what you're doing. You're doing it because you're enjoying it. And you're just doing your own pathway, and that's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to be a salesman. I'm not trying to make a business out of this. I just enjoy it, and it gives me as I said, gives me a good reason to buy more watches. Yeah.
So what other watches do you have on your radar that you want to get in, that you're looking at? Let's do it in a two-part question. One that you want for yourself, like that you definitely want to buy and have, and one just, for the purpose of doing a review on.
Well, I've never bought a watch purposely for the review. I always buy them for me.
Oh, okay.
And then the secondary. I'm trying to be careful to do that, because occasionally I think it's quite easy to think, oh, that watch is going to be a popular video, but if I don't want to own it and wear it myself, I think, well, I'm spending the money on it. It's not free, unfortunately. I'm looking at a couple of watches at the moment, which are going to be a bit more expensive, which is sort of why I'm consolidating a little bit. I really want the Stowa Classic 40 Type B manual wind with date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's one I haven't heard of that brand.
Stowa, Stowa.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't.
They do pilot watches. It's one of those three brands that back in the 30s and things, they were creating the pilot watches for the bad guys.
Okay. And so that you got that one on your radar. What's that one retail for?
$1,700.
Yeah. The one that there's two that I really want to get. I'm trying to save for either a Tudor or a Breitling. Kind of the middle of the road ones, Tudor Black Bay or a Tudor Heritage. I have a local jeweler that carries them, and they're, after taxes, are going to be close to $5,000. But on my way to that, and I don't know if I'll get there or not, because stuff happens. I had to get a new tile bed this summer, which for my septic system, which cost me 3 of those Tudors. So
that's how we think about it.
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost? Well, that's one
yeah. Yeah. So, but the thing is, once you start saving, the temptation is to get some of these really nice ones that are, a fifth of the price. So, there's a Hamilton Navy Scuba
Oh well.
that
Yeah.
that I have an eye on, and it has the orange and a little splash of orange on the 15-minute, like that first 15 minutes on the timing bezel, and then
Like you're thinking that one's not getting enough attention. I think it's going to be good, but it's only 100-meter water resistance. I think that one. They say it's a diver watch, but it's 100 meters water resistance.
oh, I haven't even really looked at the specs. So yeah, well, that's interesting. Not that I would need it for diving anyway, but and the other one that I'm definitely gonna buy. I just did the review not long ago of the C60 Tide, and that fully convinced me to get behind the Christopher Ward brand because they do make some fantastic watches. So I'm gonna along the way hopefully pick up the C63 Sealander, which is kind of an Aquaterra looking piece, and but the case shapes and finishing on their watches is just phenomenal. It's just they're so nice to look at.
Well, the 301 from them. I like the Dartmouth, which is the sort of black and silvery or black and gilt sort of looking one. I think that looks amazing. There's another one which I can't remember the name, but then have you seen their new release, their chiming?
Yeah, it looks bonkers. It's pretty cool.
I don't know why I like it so much because it's not my style, but I just keep thinking, ooh, if that wasn't a limited release, I might actually want it.
What's it going for? I've seen it on Instagram.
But I think they were selling because there's only a limited of 300 of them or 3,000. I can't remember how many, but I think it was $3,500 US, around about that price range.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of money for it. But when you compare to another brand, it'll be 15,000 US. But I don't know. I just like the look of it, which is odd because it's not my style of watch. I would normally consider.
Yeah, and are you finding that's kind of in part what you kind of enjoy or look for, just something, a little bit different, or not that it would be something that you just wouldn't regularly think, oh, I'd wear that, because I'm starting to find that now something unique is something that I appreciate now about a watch design, just something that's not common or whatever. How about you? Do you like that as well, or?
Yeah, I think part of having the channel, it's quite a positive because I'm buying so many more watches. It gives me the opportunity to sort of diversify a little bit more. Whereas if I was only buying one watch a year or something, I'd just be very careful and just probably be fairly safe. But because I am buying more, I allow myself to look outside those normal sort of channels. Otherwise, I'd probably have a watch box full of black dial dive watches. Which would probably be a little bit boring, but if I was trying to be very safe with my money, that's what I would end up going with. And the more watches I'm buying, I'm kind of speeding up the process of figuring out what I like, and like I think the pilot watches are the big one for that. I would never have thought I would have liked pilot watches, but I now suddenly love pilot watches. So, and to consider buying a really expensive pilot watch is bonkers, really, compared to 2 years ago. I wouldn't have even looked at one, let alone wanted to buy an expensive one.
Yeah, and there's just different. Like my first love was chronograph, and then I never really. I was like, pilot watches didn't do it for me. But now, field watch or a nice pilot watch is something that I love now. So it's amazing how your tastes kind of grow or whatever. Yeah.
And I want to ask you a question, actually, because I've learned a lesson this year. It's the best lesson that I've learned, and it's because of having the channel and buying more and more watches. And the lesson I learned was to look outside that sort of narrow view of brands or types. And the example I give is like Hamilton. You think of Hamilton, you think of field watches, or at least I do. But then I bought that Bassmaster GMT, which has turned out to be my favourite watch, and it's not even something I even considered. I'm not even sure if I knew what Jazzmaster was before buying that. Have you bought something outside of those general channels before? Have you thought to break outside of that and say, oh, I'm looking at Hamilton, what else do they have?
Yeah, I have, and actually just the Navy Scuba was exactly that. Just kind of looking at their catalog of watches, and yeah, generally, now that I'm, do videos about watches, search watches, you get your, I get a feed all the time, advertisements on social media or whatever, and I'll definitely check out anything that just grabs my attention. I'll have a look at it. I got contacted. Here's a funny story for you. So I got contacted by a company, and I don't know if they're end up going to collaborate with me or not, but they thought it said, "Hello, Urban Gentry," in the email.
Nice.
But this watch it's Kaal, Kaal, and I don't know where it's based out of, but they make this watch with an image of the Earth on it, and I think they might have kind of taken the idea from Sega Design, that one that they did, which and I think that they're kind of homaging maybe what they did with that one, but I don't know if I'm going to get it in because they didn't. Well, they thought I was Urban I don't know how you get Urban Gentry out of merlyontime@gmail.com, but my email
just make
address.
Sure you respond and thanks in regards TVG.
Yeah. So yeah, I just I just said I think you got the wrong guy, but I'd love to look at that watch if you want to send it to me. And then they realized I was from Canada and it was going to cost them quite a bit more money to send it to Canada. Yeah, it's just the nature of the beast up here in Canada, shipping and whatnot.
Imagine how you think I am. I'm in this little isolated place in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and for some reason they can't do a return label for international return label to send the watch back. So, I gotta pay for it, and then they gotta reimburse me. I don't know why. You can do it for the States, which is right below us, but they can't do it for Canada for some reason. But or cheap, I guess, in a cheap way. But anyway. Yeah.
I do get quite jealous of America sometimes when I've been to America a few times and you see people's videos about both the price and the accessibility of watches, and I think I need to go to America just to buy watches.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of which, let's get a little bit beyond the watch now. We've been talking for 45 minutes. I do apologize. On my end, it looks like the video might be glitching a little bit, and I'm not sure why, but yeah. But you said you love to travel. How many places have you traveled to, and what's your favorite spot that you have that you visited that you're probably going to visit again?
I've been to 44 countries.
Wow.
It's hard when you say what's your favorite because it depends on what we're talking about. Like Iceland, from a visual perspective and outdoors, is just out of this world. It feels like you're on a different planet, which I really enjoy. Both these black sand beaches with this weird moss, so it almost feels like you're on Mars or something, apart from it being red. Vancouver, I really like Vancouver City. I thought it was a really cool city. I really enjoyed visiting there. America is actually one of the places that surprised me the most because I was really looking forward to going to Canada and went to America as well. But yeah, America actually has some amazing places to see and do, and it's very well set up for tourists. We always make fun of Americans sometimes in Australia, thinking, oh, they never leave America. They're so stuck in their country. But when you go to visit there, you go, oh, there's so many great places to actually see and do, so I can kind of get that. But probably my favourite place in the world is mainland Europe. It's just so diverse, and the countryside, the cultures, the food, the languages, and then I really like mainland Europe.
And so, how often have you traveled there then, and when do you plan on going again?
I used to go every second or third year to Europe. That's where all my money went before I started spending it all on watches. I'm not quite ready to jump on a plane again to go overseas. I think I need another year or two before I'm comfortable doing that. So I'm now spending some more time traveling within Australia, and I've got family all around Australia. So that's where I'm putting my energies at the moment. Next year I'm off to Tasmania, which I've never been to before, which is a little island down the south east of Australia. It's meant to be quite pleasant and really nice, very similar sort of climate and things to New Zealand. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But I've got lists. I've literally got physical lists of places I want to go. So the next the two big trips I really want to do, I want to go to Seattle again and then jump on the boat on the big ship and do that cruise up to Alaska, up through Canada and up to Alaska. That's something that's quite high on my list of wanting to do.
Right on. Yeah. I the only place I've traveled really is Florida, like to the States and through the States as we drove down. My wife loves the tropical climate. So our kind of retirement, her retirement dream, I'll go along with it, is to be a snowbird, what they call a snowbird. So we'll go somewhere warm, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Texas, I don't know. Who knows? We'll go somewhere warm and avoid the winter, the Canadian winter, and then come back in the spring. But that won't happen for 20 more years. But hopefully we'll be relatively decent health. That's the other part of the problem traveling to the States. If you don't have like a good health insurance plan or something, if you end up needing to go to the hospital there, good night. Like you're.
Yeah. It's scary to see how their health system is set up. It just. Yeah, if you're not set up for it, if you don't have the insurance, which, here in Australia, we've got health insurance, but it's nothing like that. It's, you walk in the hospital and they just fix you for free.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine, he went down to the States and his daughter got quite sick. I don't know if it was just the flu or whatever, but they had to take her to the hospital and get an IV, I think, hooked up in that, and it cost him an arm and a leg because they didn't have a travel insurance plan. So I was like, oh my goodness, ouch.
So I've actually got a travel story about Canada. I'd always wanted to go to Canada. It'd been on my list. Always wanted to see Montreal. And I flew into New York and I drove up through the lakes, up through there, heading for Canada. I got to the border. I hadn't been booking any accommodation. One of the great things I think about America is you don't need to book. There's so much accommodation around, especially if you've got a car there. Hit the border, and the border guard said to me, you're here for the race. And I looked at him and went, what race? I was like, this is it's the F1 they do there each year, or there's a big car race
in Montreal. In Montreal, yeah, they do.
Yeah, and I went, He says, yeah, that's why there's all these cars at the border. I was like, and then I drove into Montreal, and it was just chaos. I was like, no accommodation, no nothing. I went, welcome to Canada. And I started heading west, and then I started looking at accommodation. I thought, no, and I went south and went back into America to stay the night because it was too expensive.
Yeah, it's now interestingly enough. So you've been to Vancouver, you've been to Montreal. Have you been to Toronto?
No, I've been to Calgary, and then I did that open top train ride across the mountains across to Vancouver. Okay.
So I live in a place in Ontario, which is north of Toronto, about 3 hours. It's called the Bruce Peninsula. So we're sandwiched between Lake Huron, one of the Great Lakes, and Georgian Bay. And in a travel magazine, I'm not sure which one, but one of the more known ones, there were 4 hot spots to visit in Canada. I can't remember the particular order, but there was Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, and Tobermory, which is the northern tip of the Bruce Peninsula where I live. And the northern half of the Bruce Peninsula, I'll just put it into perspective. Toronto, it's population of 2 million probably. I don't know what the population of Vancouver is. Montreal, I'm sure it's 1 or 2 million. The northern half of the Bruce Peninsula only has about 5,000 people on it. And it was number 4 in the desired destination for traveling in Canada. It's beautiful. I live in a really, really beautiful neck of the woods. So if you check that out and maybe put that on your list, and we'll go out for a coffee if you ever come up this way.
I'm more than happy to come up. I love having motivations to go places, and I think that's what Canada is, something that attracts Australians as well, is that outdoor landscape and seeing that native, wildlife and flora and fauna and things. I don't think of cities when I do think of Canada. I think of the sort of the outdoors. Yeah,
there's definitely, especially in Banff, like out in Alberta, Rocky Mountains. Like, oh my goodness, yeah, some gorgeous. So tell me about where in Australia are you? Have you lived in Australia your whole life? Were you born in Australia?
Yeah, I'm in Perth in Western Australia. I think it's the most isolated city in the world. It's a reasonably sized city, but we're very isolated over here on the west coast. I was born here. I spent a lot of time working around different parts of Australia, and as well as doing a lot of travel. I even spent some time working in Europe, sailing those super yachts in my early 20s. Working on those rich and famous big multi-million-dollar sailing yachts.
Oh, wow.
But back, because most of my family and friends are here, but I have other family all around the country, so it's good to be able to get opportunities to go and visit people all over the place.
Yeah, awesome. And you've been married for how long?
We're just hitting our 2-year anniversary now.
Just 2 years? Oh, good for you.
Thank you very much.
Good for you. Excellent. So where did you meet your wife in Perth?
Yep, we did it the old-fashioned way. We swiped on Tinder.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. It's just, it worked out for me. I'm the success story from Tinder, apparently.
Now that's fascinating. I only met one other. As a minister, I officiated a ceremony for a couple that met online. Now, I don't know if Tinder was a thing back then when they got married or not, but that's really fascinating. So tell me about that whole thing. So you saw her picture, obviously, or Tinder is...
Yeah, it's funny because I'm slightly older. I'm just over 40, and I think when you think of Tinder, you're kind of thinking of not so much getting married after you're thinking about something else, but as somebody
okay. That's what I was kind of wondering about, yeah. Because that's all I know about it, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe if I was in my early 20s, that might have been a different experience, but my experience wasn't so much that. But all I remember is she had some nice photos, and she had a nice blurb below, and down below it said, I prefer somebody preferably tallish. And I'm 6'4", so I went, that's me.
And so then, so describe this whole process, because it's so you said you swiped, so you match up somehow.
Yeah, so you swipe and then you chat like texting, and then we went and had a gin and tonic, and that was it. Instantaneously, I think we both knew that. Yep, here we go. We're done.
Really?
It was yeah.
Well, tell me, what was it about it that, about her that drew you in that that gin and tonic meeting?
Well, it was that question when he said, what's your favorite movie? And she replied, Lord of the Rings. And I thought, yep, I'm going to marry this girl.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, no, there's a lot more to that. We're so similar, and she's just such a lovely, open, honest human being, and just everything she says, she means. And I just couldn't meet somebody better. I've never met somebody like her before, so she's just the center of my life.
And what's her name?
Naomi.
Nice.
It's going to feature on the channel in a little while. She wants to feature, and we're going to do our reactions. And here's my favorite watches. What do you think? And she's going to say, I like the bezel. I don't like the price. I don't know.
That's awesome. So you're coming up on 2 years. So what did you get married in December then, or when did you marry? What month?
End of October. So I think we just hit 2 years.
Oh, you just hit 2 years.
and it was a bit of an interesting experience because it was just before COVID hit, and we were just going to be a small wedding. But then COVID kind of buggered that all up, and family couldn't come over, so we ended up just having a very small, just 4 people out in this nice park overlooking the city. It was a very pleasant and very non-stressful situation, which was very nice.
Yeah. And so, how long after that initial meetup, like how long did you date? Like how long was it before you got married?
I think we dated for about 18 months before I proposed. I was thinking about it well before that, but I thought, no, settle down. Make sure you do it properly.
Yeah.
And I took her to one of my favourite places in my local area. There's a lot of bushland areas, and when I was a kid, I grew up in an area where there was a lot of national parks around. I took her to my favourite national park for a bit of a hike, and I said to her, make sure you dress up a little bit. We're going to go to a really nice restaurant for lunch. And she said, no, I'm walking. I'm going to wear my tracky dacks, my comfortable clothes. And I was like, no, we're going to a really nice restaurant. You dress up a little bit. No. And then when we got there, we went for a walk. It was busy. There was people and kids and dogs everywhere. And I thought, here we go. So I had to sort of walk into a weird spot somewhere in the middle of nowhere with these lovely views of the city. And then I had to just sort of keep talking until these groups of people walked past. And then went, okay, here we go. Here's my shot. And then she cried.
So did you get down on one knee and that whole bit?
Did the whole thing. What about yourself? How long have you been in holy matrimony?
Okay, 98. So we just passed 24 years.
Wow! Congratulations. That's amazing.
So I had the fortune of marrying my high school sweetheart. So yeah, we met in high school, music class. Her brother and my sister were classmates. My sister's 6 years older than I am. So what ended up happening was her brother talked to my sister and said, "What does your brother think of my sister?" And so we both played the trumpet in music class. That was the only class I think that we were in together in high school was music class. And so she called me up, and we just started talking, and just went from there. So I've been with her now longer than I've been without her, because we met when I was 16, 17 years old. So
that's lovely.
Yeah. So it's all I've ever known. She was my first serious girlfriend, I guess. And we're married. We've got 3 kids. Naomi, how old is Naomi? Is she about your age?
She's a couple of years older, so I think she's 44.
Okay. And did she have children from a prior relationship before meeting you?
No, we're both on the same sort of level there. We both like kids, but it's just not something for us as a permanent arrangement. We're both very, very good at aunties.
Yeah, children are a permanent arrangement for sure. So what does she loves to travel too. Where have you been together? I guess like you've only been together 2 years, right? So the pandemic, have you been able to travel outside of Australia with Naomi then, or?
We went to Japan together, which was lovely. We really enjoyed going to Japan, one of my favourite places. And we also went to the UK. We did a big UK trip, which I was really, really happy to do because we wanted to see more of the countryside of the UK. And we sort of avoided the main cities mostly and hired a car and did the Cotswolds and went up to the Lake District and went up into Scotland to Inverness and things. And we did this lovely big long drive through sort of the back country, I guess, or the non-big cities of the UK. And we've been to Bali a couple of times and Singapore. And so, yeah, we like to get out there and travel.
That's awesome. Yeah. And being a kid-free is definitely going to afford you the opportunity to do that and for more watches. Yeah, man, kids they're a blessing for sure, but I've always Oh, they are like but they're very. It's for me anyway. It's very stressful. You know, it is like you're. I said to my wife not long ago, if we could kind of rewind time and freeze it in a certain spot, you know, and just live there forever, that would be great. When they were like 12, 10, and 8, you know, they you know, they didn't develop adolescent problems at that point in time, you know, and where it is all consuming. It's definitely an all consuming thing, and everyone I talk to says,
don't get in there and do it all and put your head down and make them the best kids they can be.
Yeah, and they're great kids, and everyone you talk to though that has them's like it never ends. You know, they start to have their own kids, and you're wrapped up in grandkids and everything. And so, what made curious? What is it with for you? Your decision not to have kids. What's the primary reason for that? Is it because you want to have more freedom, or what is it about that brought you to that decision?
It's not so much that. I think there's a lot of facets to it, and I've definitely put a huge amount of thought into it throughout my life, because it is a big decision, either having kids or not having kids. But for me, I just wouldn't enjoy the specific situations that you're in, and I don't want to be the dad or a dad that goes to like a sporting event at school, be there to support that kid, but absolutely really not like being there. I'd want to be all in and be a good dad, and not be thinking in my head, I'd much rather be doing something else right now. So if I was going to do it, I would have wanted to be that parent. And because that's not what I want, I've chosen then not to be a bad parent, I guess. And I wouldn't be a bad parent, but I'd be not enjoying those experiences as much as I would like to.
Yeah. Well, and Naomi obviously feels the same way.
Yeah. On our second date, she said, "Do you want kids?" And I went, "No." She went, "Good."
Yeah, you know what though, that's good that you got that out of the way that early, because a lot of people don't. I mean, they even get into a marriage situation. Because I'm a minister and I officiate marriages, and you know, I do a questionnaire with the couple so I can kind of get to know them. But there's some questions there. One of them is, how many kids do you want to have? And the follow-up question to that is, what are you going to do if you can't have kids? Because not everybody has, you know, success in getting pregnant. Like, it's just a reality. And a lot of people never even thought of that prior to getting married. It's like, you know, there's some big things coming that, you know, you better figure that out, or it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's these big questions. You need to ask them, and you need to think about them. And I think a lot of us don't really think about them. We just sort of tootle away through life and just do what is expected of us, or what we think is expected of us. And we don't then think, well, is there other options sometimes? And yeah, asking that question. And my wife is so amazing about the way she's so open. She's the most open person I've ever met in my life. I don't think she has that inner monologue thinking something different like most of us do. We sort of think something, but then filter it out into the world. She just says what she means, and she sounds like this amazing, honest, open person. So when she asks questions like that, that's just her personality. She gets it out there, puts it out there, and it's one of the things I love about her most.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. And so when you guys...
Things.
Yeah. So what is your dream for, you know, you're obviously within your careers now, and you know, there's spending time at work, and so when you have more time to, like your retirement years, I guess, what have you guys talked about? What would you love to do? Do you want to stay in Australia your whole life? Is there a place you would want to live together, somewhere else in the world for a season or whatever?
I certainly want to transition as soon as I financially can, which is a while away. We don't earn huge money, but transitioning more to like a lifestyle kind of job, something that we both love and enjoy doing, something that works around what we want to do. I'm not somebody that probably ever wants to fully retire and go play golf on the weekends and sit and watch TV. I'd rather be doing something, but do something that I'm passionate about and gives me flexibility to do things like continue to travel and go spend significant times in certain areas. I'd absolutely love to go back to Europe and spend a couple of years just experiencing life there and buy a car and just live simply and live in places where it doesn't cost too much to actually live, but just live it and experience it. And that would be nice. And if this channel or something like this was a bit of a passive income that I could do whilst traveling, that'd be fantastic as well.
Yeah. And what's your favorite place in Europe then? That you love to go, or what's been?
I lived in Palma in Mallorca for a long time, which I absolutely adore. But it's funny. It's one of those questions. It depends on what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for castles, then I sort of like southern Germany. If I'm looking for food, then I like sort of Spain and France. And if I'm looking for sort of outdoor areas, then I like Scandinavia. And it's a hard question to answer. And the good thing is you drive for an hour and you pass through 4 countries, so you can see it all in the one trip.
Yeah. Have you been to the only place that I really want to go before I die, I guess, if possible, Scotland, because that's where my ancestors are from.
I've been twice, and it is absolutely incredible. It's stunning. You get there. Yeah. I remember the first time I went, and you get there and go, oh, I feel like I'm home. And it was a bit of a weird experience because I'm not sure why. I think maybe because it was so green and so sort of, it just felt very natural. And I know it's very green because it rains all the time, but no, it's stunning. The people are lovely. The cities are lovely. The whiskey's quite good as well.
Yeah, they are known for their drink. And my ancestors were, like my great grandfather and my grandfather were both they're both shipbuilders. So cool. my grandfather immigrated from Glasgow. So he was his father was a shipbuilder in Glasgow, and then he came to a place called Collingwood in Ontario, where they had a port and they built ships there. And so one of the main travel ferries called the Chi-Chi-Mon, which takes people from the northern part of the Bruce Peninsula and Tobermory that I told you about to Manitoulin Island and whatnot. My grandfather was a foreman on the crew that built that ship in Collingwood. So, yeah, that's about the only place I think I want to go.
Glasgow. Every time I meet somebody from Glasgow, I ask them the same question, and that is, can you please say the word burglary for me?
You see, and now you understand why I'm an illiterate imbecile, because of my heritage. Oh my goodness. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate. I think we've been talking for about an hour and 15 minutes now, and so I really appreciate your time, and I'm just fascinated to hear some of the details of your life and learn a little bit more about you. I've loved watching you on YouTube. One of the favorite things, the thing that caught me right away with you, was just the simplicity of, you're watching James, I'm James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches, and I'm like, that is the best video intro ever. Honestly, I'm like, ever. I was like hooked right from I don't know what the first video of you I watched was. Can't remember. I've been watching now for a year. But this, I know some other people kind of enjoy these episodes, but if no one watches any of these little beyond the watch things I do, I just do it for me. It's totally self-indulgent. I just enjoy getting to know some of the people that I've enjoyed watching more, and hearing some of your story has been great. And thank you for taking the time to share it.
No, it's been fantastic. I'll be happy to do video chats without being recorded, so we can just have a chat. It's nice to meet new people and talk watches and have somebody that we can actually discuss this stuff with and stay in touch, mate. It's been really nice. Yeah,
I absolutely will, of course. And so...
and if you ever want to Australia, there's a spare room with a mattress on the floor which you can all pile in onto.
Yeah, I don't... so tell me a bit about Australia right now. You're coming into summer, which is so bizarre to me because I'm coming into winter. So it's just amazing the differences. But so the summer months are upon you, and yeah.
Yeah, so it sort of still feels a bit. It sort of keeps jumping back and forth between just like a nice sort of spring day, 20 degrees Celsius, which is lovely, and then occasionally having a hot day at 30 degrees. But another month or two from now, it will just be hot every day. And I actually don't particularly like the heat. I'm sort of more drawn to a cooler climate. So, you know, your wife and I can swap. She can come to this hot climate, and I'll come up there to the ice. The ice isn't quite what I want, but a cooler climate anyway.
I'm with you in that regard. I don't mind the hot as long as it's not humid. Like a dry heat is fine.
Yeah.
Humidity.
It's very dry.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Yeah, the humidity. It's hard when you walk outside and within 5 seconds you feel like you need a shower.
Yeah. So aside from Perth, where would be the recommended place in Australia for someone that's never been there to visit?
Oh, there's a lot to see here. Over this side of the country, it's fairly isolated. There's a lot of stuff to see and interesting stuff. But on the east coast, you've got all the main cities. You've got Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane, and up north you've got Cairns, which is that sort of humid climate. But then it's a little bit like America in the way that we have a lot of different types of climates because we've got such a large country. There's dry, arid sort of desert countries. There's sort of wooded forest, cooler areas. We've got tropical areas. We've got obviously beaches, and even Australia is well known for its beaches and things. If you want to go see cities, there's some amazing stuff in things like Melbourne and Sydney. And if you want outback stuff, there's plenty of that in Alice Springs, and go see all the cultural sort of parts of Australia. And everything's a long way away from each other. It's not like some areas where you can drive 10 minutes and you're in another city. Here you're struggling to think about refilling the car before you reach the next location. But
yeah,
it's an interesting country to visit, and there's definitely lots of things to see and do. Not the most cheap country to travel to, unfortunately, where things do seem to cost a lot of money here.
Yeah, I do have a couple of friends that traveled there for some schooling. I think they went to Sydney and university or whatever, and they didn't finish any program, but it was quite expensive for them as a Canadian to live there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just the living costs here are quite high comparatively. It's nice when I go traveling somewhere and it's something now feels almost cheap to go, and not even the obvious cheap places. Even just sort of Europe actually feels relatively cheap to me when I go, especially when you stay outside of the big cities where obviously it's a little bit more expensive. And even like America, everything's just so cheap in America. Accommodation's cheap, food's cheap, hiring a car is cheap, fuel's cheap, everything's cheap.
Yeah.
Even though the comparison with the dollar is quite bad at the moment, it still ends up feeling cheap if you're visiting over that way.
Yeah, the only now what's the Australian dollar in comparison to the US dollar? What's the value of it?
At the moment, it's about 65 cents, so it's quite low, but it normally ranges up to about 70 or 75 cents.
Yeah,
but right now, it's quite low. There's a couple of watches that I'm not buying because the exchange rate's so bad. I recently just bought a Zelos watch, which is very cool, but the exchange rate just killed me. It added like $100 to the price of the watch for me.
Yeah. Oh, easily. You got that new field watch that they made, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very pretty.
Yeah, and for me to get that watch with, depending on how it's shipped, but most of the time I get hosed with the shipping because, well, it's not. Well, I shouldn't say it's the shipping, although it can be. It's the import and duty. So I'll pay 25 to 30% on the dollar because our dollar is around 73, 74 cents, maybe 75 now. So I'll pay an additional 25%. Then I'll pay an additional 13% on the Canadian value of the product when it crosses the border, plus a import fee, plus if they add a $40 or $25 shipping fee. So I bought a watch, a couple of watches from the States, and they ended up almost being double the price of the US dollar by the time you pay the import, the shipping, so I don't buy too many.
I'm in the car and going for a weekend away down south.
Yeah, exactly. So Amazon has been my kind of go-to, and then Long Island Watch, because I've worked it out with them. Great. And if you have issues with shipping, like I talked to Ryan, and I'm like, because when they sent me some watches to review, there was no, obviously no import fees or whatever. And I'm like, if I buy a watch from you guys, could you ship it in such a way that I won't pay the import fee? Because I'm already getting dinged with the US dollar value. And they do. And so if I'm going to buy a watch, I'll in the States anyway, they're my go-to now, because I know I can get it shipped and I won't get dinged at the border.
How long does it take you to drive to the US border if you were to drive?
There's about 4 hours. I do. They buy watches. Yeah, but I mean,
not that they're all for sale at the border, obviously, but
yeah, no, like I guess the nearest city I could go to, that might have some nice watch boutiques, maybe Buffalo, Detroit on that other side, at that other border crossing.
You can buy house prices a watch in Detroit nowadays, can't you? From what I've seen.
Sorry?
I said the housing prices in Detroit, you can almost buy a house with the same price as a watch at the moment.
Yeah, they came into some pretty difficult times there not too long ago, but when next time I go to the States, I'll definitely. But no matter what, I'm still paying the same, because I gotta exchange my money for US dollar, right? So, woe is me.
I'm having this daydream going into a Walmart and just buying Timexes and Casios, and then flying home with a bag full of watches.
Yeah, I could do that for sure. Well, listen, man, this has been a pleasure. I want to thank you. Thank you to your wife, Naomi, for, sparing you for an hour or so. And you guys are going to go walk your dog now?
Yeah, we're going to go for a trek. And I'm sure I'll take a couple of photos and throw it on Instagram as well.
There you go. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy your day, because it's daytime for you. I'm going to go home and watch a fight with my boy. And thank you so much, James. Everybody, I know more than likely you're subscribed to James already if you watch me, but I'll leave a link in the description of our conversation here where you can go over and subscribe to James' channel and subscribe to mine while you're at it. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Chris. Really appreciate it. And I also appreciate everybody for watching, and I'm sure I'll have you on my channel soon enough as well.
All right. Thanks, James.